Alright, time for the DraftScience video presentation. So a comment that sort of gets to everything. So I shall connect the current subjects with the overall subject. I don't know whether that's necessary or not. I mean, it doesn't really hurt to keep the subjects separate from each other, but it is a unification theory theoretically. Somehow that's become less important to me personally. I guess it's just because of the constant crapola you get as arguments that somehow you lose sight of you know everything is diminished in terms of its importance because you have to get people to learn ABC. So there's no point in talking about some sort of elegant or eloquent poetry because these people won't even accept the letters of the alphabet. But anyway, um, you have done an excellent job of bringing up the envelope pattern, the scattering effect. I, I pointed out that the experiment has features and variables, things that you can change and things that you can't, and that they're affecting the experiment, that you don't have to come up with some wacky, wooey bullshit explanation. You don't have to give photons magic powers to explain the experiment, that there is, in fact, simple hidden variables. They're not hidden they're not hard to see. The slits are pretty obvious variables. When you change the variables, you change the outcome of the experiment. The variables are the experiment. Not complicated. Anyway, and the geometric problems of wave model in the DS experiment. This, I don't know what that even means. This isn't my experiment, but the fact is, if you do the experiment and you do it with any kind of clinical accuracy, you would have found out a long time ago, 200 years ago, that the two-wave theory doesn't actually work. So they've been claiming it's the solution to the problem, and they never cared to find out whether it actually works. And that's a sad commentary in itself. Those are rarely spoken. They're not spoken at all, frankly. So, you really are putting a little mushy, soft rubber edge on all of this, aren't you? I mean, it's why can't you just say it is appalling that intellectuals, who are part of this scientific community, have so little integrity because they talk as if they've proven, established, well done, all this kind of crap, and their experiments aren't what they claim they are. They claim the existence of experiments that never took place. I mean, the whole thing is a terrible fraud. You should be pointing that out. Anyway, if I were you, that's what I would be saying. Wow, you're demonstrating how, gee, it is all a bunch of bullshit sold by people who are supposed to be way above being bullshitters. All right, anyway. But I still don't get how your bits models would explain it all. Yeah, well, it is a big subject. You do have to pay attention. But I mean, I actually said it in the video you commented after that comment, that you commented on before you wrote that comment. And frankly, I'd already said it in as simple as ways you need. Everything, the matter in the universe, is just sitting in the universe. And guess what? The universe is hitting it. Now, we can't dispute that, right? You all know there's light hitting you, there's cell phones, there's all kinds of energy hitting you. So there's just no denying it. And the only thing you're doing is moving your position in that field of stuff. That field of stuff interacts with you. And all you can do, you can't kill this stuff. This stuff doesn't die. So all you can do is reflect it, theoretically. That's all there is. There's no, you don't absorb it and get insanely gigantic because you absorbed a bunch of this stuff. So you're just absorbing the universe, as you could just argue you're absorbing temperature from the universe. That's it. And so the activity of the universe goes inside of you, but eventually it has to go back outside of you. And that's the truth. And all we're really talking about is the fact is that some of it reflects really fast, Some of it reflects really slow. But it always reflects. It always goes in and then leaves again. And so we're just talking about what's the consequence of it being occupied, moving stuff inside of you. And the consequence is, the one I'm going to point out, the kind of obvious consequence is that you'll always have a little bit of a disequilibrium. More stuff goes in than stuff comes out, and that would be gravity. So there's the gravity's explained. Gravity is the fact that matter, because you have to push it. So, well, matter, when we say matter, so this I'm using this as a big piece of matter, like an Earth. But let's say it's just a little piece of matter. What it's doing, okay, the little piece of matter, how it's absorbing the energy, is that you actually have to push it. So every time a piece of matter moves from point A to point B, an actual force, an actual bit of energy in the universe, heat, has to be used to move it from here to here. It can't move unless something's moving it, pushing it. So there is no free movement in the universe. Nothing moves freely except the force. So force is really just movement. Matter is an absorber of movement, you could argue. So the electron, when it goes from point A to point B, it has to be pushed by a piece of the force. It will move slower than the speed of light, therefore the force will lose some energy. And it sort of illustrates the point about the reflection, because all you do is add a subtle little tiny bit of what happens next kind of thinking. And you could say, okay, if I'm pushing something with a force, and then I hit an opposite force, okay, so I'm pushing an electron with a force, and then I hit an opposite force, well, what's going to happen? The simple answer would be this one's going to reflect and this one's going to reflect, and the matter's going to stop moving. The matter's going to be dead in space now again. And then I can add 4 or 5 over here, extra forces, and then you know that, oh, okay, if it has 4 forces here, then this last bit of force here, that one reflects, and that one reflects, and this one keeps going with the energy of 3 pieces of energy. And if it hits another piece of force coming at it, then it only has 2 pieces of energy, and so on and so on. So here's the case. If you're hitting a moving electron with a force, there's an instant reflection. So there's no loss of energy. But if the electron is moving already, okay, and you're going to add to its movement, then you're going to be trapped for a while. All of these forces are all moving less than the speed of light. This one didn't stop moving the speed of light. It in an instant reflected. And so now it's going the speed of light that way, and this one's going the speed of light this way. And the trick is this one and this one, right? You could say this one went right through everything, because when this one reflects, this last one, that's the same thing as this one continuing its journey. And this movement, this reflection, took the same time as moving the speed of light. So you could just basically say this one just went right through it. And that would be a way of illustrating it. This one passed right through the matter if you took the reflection seriously. And then this force, you finally released it. So this one's been trapped for a while, pushing the matter. And now you reflected it. You let it loose again. But I'm just saying, you can look at it either way. So it's completely energy conservational, and you're just recognizing the fact that the force is diminished while it's pushing matter that consumes some of its energy. So all you're really saying is when there's a bunch of matter, a bunch of elements of matter, what they're doing when they're moving is absorbing temperature from the universe. They're, by having temperature, by acquiring movement, internal motion, they're taking motion out of the universe. The universe has less because they're using some of it, quite simply. This can't be as energetic because this has become energetic. Got it? So it explains gravity, I'm just saying. It explains why things fall into matter. Why matter is attractive is because matter absorbs force and becomes hot. Simply. Just by existing in the force. Because its little bits will constantly have to be fed to keep moving. To move, they have to keep being fed. If you just trap the same force and the force was never exchanged, that is, the matter bit that's moving inside of me, if they never hit another force, then the only force absorbed would be a force 10 years ago. And there'd be a huge deficit 10 years ago, a bigger deficit. But no, it's constantly being refreshed. It's constantly has to push. It has to be a new force used to keep pushing it. A new force in the sense that you have to constantly feed the motion. So it's a constant deficit. As long as matter's moving inside of you, you're creating a deficit. Because you're taking force from the universe that was going the speed of light, and you've reduced its speed, essentially. It's the simple way of saying it. So there's gravity. Now the big jump, whoa, scary big jump, to get to photons is just recognizing that force, okay, those little bits, because matter can be moved. So to understand, you're reflecting all the time. You're essentially made out of chrome and you're reflecting everything. So when you move, your big object moves from here to there, your big object's going to change which is in the universe. So again, I've done this analogy so many times. You're saying you don't get it? So when I move an electron, what am I doing? I'm one side of the electron, it's reflecting more light. The other side, from the other point of view, when I go like this, the other side is saying, what happened? Where'd the electron go? Because it disappears essentially. So when I move this way, I don't reflect, okay, force this way as much. So I reflect less. Less comes back this way when I'm moving that way. When I'm moving into the force, I'm reflecting more. So one side gets very bright and when it's moving, and the other side gets dull. Alright, so that's essentially a difference in the universe. It's going to be made out of these little force bits, and so what you're going to have is places where there's a lot of them, okay, when it moves that way, and then when it moves back the other way, then there's very few of them. And then there'll be a lot of them again. And that's a pattern. Okay, a frequency. That's a photon. Alright, now I've explained that when you have that pattern, what it means is when you hit other electrons that are bound in atoms, connected with other electrons by forces bouncing between them, when you hit it with that pattern, okay, what that pattern can do is tip it. It can take something that, you're nudging something, but if you hit it and then wait for it to rebound and then hit it again, you can tip it over. Or if you hit something, okay, and then don't let it stop, don't let it lose velocity, and then you hit it again, you can keep increasing its speed. So if it's going 30 miles an hour, and then that reduces, say it starts off as 30, and it reduces to 10, but you hit it again with 30, now you're up to 40, right? And it only reduces to 20. And then you hit it again with 30, now you're up to 50. You see? So you can get the speed, the velocity up by hitting it at a perfect rate where you've never allowed it to change its direction. So it's a resident frequency. You're adding energy, so you're always hitting it when it's going in the right direction, and you don't hit it when it's going in the wrong direction. So you don't get the instantaneous reflection. Instead, you get the absorption of, I will accept your energy and allow it to push me. Okay, so it's absorbing the energy, okay, when you can move the electron, and that's what the photon allows to take place. Now, the next step, which is magnetism and energy, well, energy, I've explained, that energy is just this idea of absorbing the force. So Newton was correct. Force equals momentum. Okay, it equals your mass times your velocity, and that equals your energy. There is no 1/2 mv squared bullshit. That is a fantasy. This is the simple truth. Okay, is that Your force is just your mass times your velocity. How big is the little object you're pushing and how far you're pushing it, that'll decide how many arrows it takes. If you're heavy, it takes more arrows to give you velocity. If you're light, it takes less arrows to give you velocity. The quantized little arrows always give the same, okay, and it's just a matter of collecting them, and matter collects them. The more mass you have, the harder you are to push, duh. And the more mass you have and the more time you've had to collect force, the more force you can collect, duh again. It's just a bucket argument, as I've pointed out. Your mass is the bucket, and you're just collecting forces, generally speaking. And the more mass you have, the more force you can collect in a certain amount of time. Not very complicated. That solves the energy deal. And then the one I wanted to get to was magnetism, which is the tricky one. So magnets are basically, it's another pattern argument. So there's two elemental forces, just like there's two elemental pieces of matter, electrons and protons. And so you could just draw it as X's and O's. Okay, these are the electrons and the protons in arrangement. And so you can sort of understand that the X's reflect off the X's and the O's reflect off the O's. But if you hit an X with an O, you don't get a reflection, you get a perpendicular change in direction. Okay, so there's two interactions, two kinds of force, two kinds of matters, two kinds of interactions. But what a magnet's doing is that it's arranging all these X's and O's just perfectly. So they're all perfectly arranged, all the same. They're all oriented in the same direction, the pattern. And that basically is sending a signal to the universe. Okay, it sends a pattern out. And that pattern spreads, okay, as it goes out. Just the same way as the electric field, for example, comes off an antenna in one dimension. That's why the electric field isn't the R squared rule. It's just the R rule. The electric field is only spreading in one dimension. It's only spreading this way or spreading this way, but it doesn't spread both ways. Gravity spreads both ways. That's why it's R squared. Things that only spread in one dimension are R rules. Things that spread in both dimensions are R squared rules, and things that have a pattern and are spreading in both directions end up being R cubed rules. Sorry, that should have been a square. Are R cubed rules. So it's even, the force breaks down even quicker. So the idea is that the magnet is sending a pattern. Okay, so I don't know how to, I guess I could do it this way. So this would be the X's, and this would be the O's, and this would be the X's, and this would be the O's. Right? So it's sending the pattern. You can see, and if the pattern is going out, it's spreading, which means a device that's going to be reciprocal to the pattern, that is another magnet that's going to be able to read that pattern. The only thing that can read it is another magnet. So if I'm spreading the pattern, I'm making it bigger and bigger, then the device that's going to see it has to also be at a perfect distance where its pattern is spread just as much. But the point is, it actually has to hit the other object. The magnet can't bounce off the force. It has to bounce it off another magnet. And if the magnet's this size here, this pattern will get way too big for this little pattern here of X's and O's to read it, to see that it's the opposite pattern. So the further away you go from a magnet, you've spread the pattern so much that neither magnet can see each other's patterns anymore. But when you get them closer and closer, they can see the pattern, okay, of little X's and O's, okay, and do the reciprocal reactions and blah, 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 blah. So this is a little more complicated magnetism. But you can understand it's just a pattern. So you start with a force, all right, that's just this, okay, energy in a direction, a little piece of the quanta, all right. You put it in a frequency, and you have light, okay, and then you just give it another kind of pattern, okay, a polarization pattern, a magnetic pattern, whatever you want to call it, proton versus, this light is electron energy, and then when you're mixing electron energy, and this is gravity, would be both, So gravity is just this stuff hitting, no pattern. Photons are the pattern with a specific period, residence, and then magnetism is going to be the pattern, okay, but the pattern made out of the X's and O's. And that's all you really need, and then you're done. The end. Yeah, that's the universe. So it's just all the forces have all the motion. They just push the matter. The matter goes exactly where the fields of force, the little arrows, the other stuff reflecting in the universe, whatever field the other stuff creates in the universe, the little electrons dictated and told, I must go this way or I must go that way, because that's what the arrows say. It just goes where the arrows force it to go, period. And when it goes somewhere, then it's doing this. It's sending energy ahead of it, and it's reducing the energy behind it. And everybody else sees that. Everybody else sees something leaving or coming, and depending on which one they're doing, it's going to have a difference in its field, and it's going to react to that difference in its field. Yeah, did my job. Okay. So, but I still don't get how your model would explain it all there. I don't, obviously if I'm going to go through every little tiny subtlety, it's going to take some time. That's why there's lots of videos. And I can't tell you every single interaction yet. I can't point out every interaction. But I'm just saying the proof of theory now exists. Photons are composite objects, right? According to you, right? Are they composites of bits? So this is the part where you're just going to make me fucking insane. Well, what the fuck do you think I've been talking about, you fucking idiot? I mean, you know, bits. They're bits in the sense that, what do you think something that's not a bit can have momentum? Well, I don't think so. So I guess you call it a bit if it hits something and it moves it. It's a something. Does it matter whether we call it a bit or something? It's a something. There. Are we done? What words do, I mean, what kind of slicing and dicing of vocabulary are you going to require me to do to say what the fuck? It's just a quanta, a little piece of momentum. It has a tiny profile in the universe, and it's moving an insanely fast speed. What else do I have to say? You don't understand that concept? Then what the fuck are you doing here? Anyway, is every sequencing... what's a sequencing? You know, I don't know. What is that? Electron excitation? What the fuck is that? And ionization? Electrons aren't ionized. Atoms are. Atoms lose an electron and now become a negative ion or a positive ion because they lost a negative. Ions are an atomic function. That's what happens to a solar system. It doesn't happen to planets or suns or moons. They can't be ions. In the antenna, causing bits to travel in some medium. So here, what the fuck is this shit? Travel in a fucking medium. What the fuck are you talking about? Where have I talked about some fucking medium? The medium is the force. The forces are real things. I mean, you can't understand. I mean, I've done fish analogies. There's ocean water. There's nothing, okay? The ocean water isn't alive. It doesn't do anything. There's fish in it. Okay, do you understand the difference? A bit is a fish. Okay? And now we're going to just create one more circumstance where, let's say, the fish can pick up a sponge and move it in the field. So the fish are pushing sponges. So all you have is fish and sponges. And water. The water's nothing. The fish have the energy. And the sponges go where the fucking fish push them. Anyway. Until they reach the atomic structure in the double slit surface. So again, I made it clear, they're not reaching some atomic structure. They're hitting fucking electrons. Electrons scatter photons. That is, they break them. There's nobody here. You're really all too fucking stupid. You can't do. You people can't do physics. You're so fucking stupid. I don't know what did I say. This isn't that complicated. Fuck. All right. This is an electron, right? As I just pointed out. Okay. So now I've already told you what a photon is as a pattern, and it's going to have to hit this electron. All right, and the electron is tied to an atom. So there's a proton here, and there's an atom next to it. I mean, I've explained this, and these atoms are going to share the energy. And the fact is you're going to have to hit this electron, and then at the right time, you're going to have to hit it again. In this sense, you're going to have to hit the atom that's sharing the information. So the information will go from this electron, it'll go into this atom, it'll move this electron, then you're going to hit it with another piece of energy, move that electron, and that's how you're going to add the energy to the system to identify. You're going to create electricity, and that process of creating electricity has to be done by hitting things with this photonic energy. All right, so what's the exact question? All right, so the point is that, so here's the surface your electron is going into. It's electrons on the surface. Okay, here's your atoms, here's your protons. We'll put X's in them. Okay, those are your protons. These are your electrons, are always on the surface. None of this is going to be perfectly even, by the way. So, some of these atoms are going to be out here. Some are going to be in there. Okay, so it's going to be a mixture. The surface is never going to be perfectly flat. Now you're sending your photons through. Okay, so you're sending a higher density, okay, of force bits, little arrows. High density, low density. High density, low density. You're sending it through here. Every single one of these electrons is going to has its own wiggle motion, okay, and the wiggle motion is going to be consistent with its atomic attachment to the surface. So it's going to be wiggling this way. So it's going to have momentum this way or that way. Your photon, your little piece of energy, one of these little arrows, is going to hit an electron, and the arrow is going to it's either going to go that way or it's going to go that way, depending on where the electron is wiggling. So it's somewhere on this plane, right? So I got a machine gun, and I just move it, and at any one moment, the photon will get changed in its direction, in those directions. Because all I'm going to really do is move the electron. I'm going to hit the electron's going to move, which is the same thing as doing this or doing this. So now I'm going to push more energy in a direction. Whatever direction the electron moves this way, it pushes more energy that way. If it moves this way, it pushes more energy that way, right? So it's creating two photons, essentially. When the electron moves, it's creating a photon that way, an element of a photon. And it's pushing an element of a photon that way, right? Because it's always, when an electron moves, it's creating negative here, positive here. And then when it moves back, it's creating negative here, positive here, in terms of what's reflecting. Shit. Well, anyway, so the direction of each little tiny bit will be in a different direction. Each little bit's going to go a different way. So I'm taking this pattern and I'm sending it all over the fucking place. And all I'm going to say is can I put these, well, one from way over here will end up in the same place as this one over here, and they'll recreate the pattern. They'll recreate the frequency. And now they'll hit the surface of the atoms. They'll hit the surface in a sequence, bang, 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 and cause the effect of electricity. And I'll read the electricity and say, oh, a photon hit. What happens to the force bits on the interaction in the surface? So they move the electrons, and then they're reflected again. They're let loose. The universe is full of what you could call drag. So when I move this way, and I'm reflecting more energy, well, the reflecting of more energy means that's what stopped me. Making more energy is what stopped this from moving. So it pushes, and it reflects stuff that wouldn't be reflected until later, right? So my hand was way back here. It would have taken time for me to send back something. Well, now I'm going to send it back sooner by moving my position. But it is also pushing back at me. That's why I go in the opposite direction, is because to push it, it's pushing me back. So I'm oscillating. All right, how does this model explain the double slits? I mean, what the fuck? So that's what he means by double DS. So I just did the whole video explaining it. I don't know, what's the fucking point? There's no point in communicating with people. Just too fucking stupid. How does this model explain the double slits experiment made by an electron gun instead of a photon gun? So I've already stated this so many fucking times. There's no double slit experiment with an electron gun. Go look it up. Go look up the experiment. Does it follow any of the same rules? No. Is it the same concept even? Does it even make any sense? Okay, I mean, electrons are charged. We know electrons are charged. So you're going to put them through a slit, right? Okay, double slit. What do you think's on the surface here? The surfaces are charged. They're covered in electrons. They're covered in electrons. I'm going to send electrons into a place that's covered with electrons and be surprised that, oh, the electrons are going to definitely be affected by that field. Duh. But the whole point is these electron guns, they're not shooting electrons here and here and here and here and here. So that's not taking place. Okay, they're not doing the experiment the same way. They're aiming the electrons. So they're taking electrons and putting them through a bunch of sophisticated, electronic lenses to force them into a position. They're violating Heisenberg. Okay, they're forcing the electrons to be exactly in this location, and then pretending. And again, the pattern isn't even the same double slit pattern. It's just a very rigid pattern. There's no two patterns. There's no envelope pattern. So again, way off. But there's no, obviously the structure, any atomic structure is a matrix. It has order in it. And so there's no surprise that the electrons are going to be forced into a pattern. Just as you see the little lines around a magnet from the iron filings, that's exactly what you're sending the photons, the electrons through. You're sending them through an iron filing field, essentially, and then saying, I'm very surprised that they make a pattern. Well, you shouldn't be surprised. All right, what is the smallest and biggest size of a photon? So, well, fuck you. Sorry, but this is just too stupid because I've been over it already. Polarization is proportional to wavelength. The wavelength is a set number of nanometers. Do I have to explain that to you? Now, whether a photon is 3 little bits of quanta to make electricity, or whether you need 4, or whether you need 15, I haven't really speculated on that. I'm beyond just saying it's something. It's some number. Could be 2. It has to be more than 2, let's say. You have to have 2 bits. But I would argue that if it was just 2 bits that made a photon, then the universe would be making a ton of random photons. So it probably takes 3 or 4 bits in the right sequence to make a photon. At least 3 or 4. Or the universe would be doing it all the time. Whatever. Are photons and bits. The bits are the photon. They aren't separate things. The photon is made out of the bits. That's what the composite object statement means. Anyway. Fuck. Limited and decentralized by the Planck constant. Fuck you and that crap. Alright, the Planck constant is just a vague generalization at the idea, okay, that there is a bit. You don't even understand that part of it? Planck's constant is basically validating the point that the stuff of a photon comes in a quantity. You can't, a strict quantity. And the quantity isn't the whole photon. The quantity is something less than a whole photon, but you have to have that complete piece of energy. Either have a force bit or there is no force bit. You can't have a half a force bit. So that's perfectly consistent with what I'm saying. Planck's constant is perfectly consistent with recognizing that the universe is made out of discrete bits. There aren't turtles all the way down. there's force bit, no force bit. There's empty space, and it either has force in it, a little bit of force moving the speed of light, or it doesn't. There's no other alternative. There either is something there moving the speed of light, or there isn't. How do you explain the weak interaction? So the weak interaction isn't even explained by regular physics in any kind of rational way. So that's just a whole pile of horse shit, okay? It's a magnetic reaction inside of atoms. I'm not going to give you the whole theory, but I've already explained that, okay? Atoms aren't being run by solar system mechanics. It's not gravity, so to speak. It's charge. They're charged objects, protons and electrons, and they're sitting there like magnet, north-south magnets. If I put a bunch of north magnets around them, a center of a south magnet, the north magnets will want to go to the south magnet. But the catch is the north magnets repel each other. So if I put them in exact geometry, they'll just stay there because they can't. One of them can't move in without pushing against the others, and they don't like that, so they push back. So magnetic geometry explains atoms, not frickin' gravitational whatever bullshit. The Bohr model's a pile of crap. Oh, fuck. In this video, fuck you, you slightly misunderstand my overall point. There's no overall point. Okay, you obsessing about this stupid stripe crap. I'm trying to explain to you it doesn't work in any of these analogies. It's a silly analogy to go, I throw cats through slits and the cats make two lumps on the wall. No, they don't. It's the whole point. If you made the experiment to their specifications, okay, some of the cats would always be hitting the surfaces and deflecting. And if I put those deflections on a screen, you know, many hundreds of meters away, okay, which would be realistic. I mean, we're talking about huge distances from the surface. When you go meters at the scale of a photon, right, you have a slit that's less than a millimeter, and you have a target that's meters away. You do understand that if I was to make that analogy, that's like me throwing tennis balls, okay, through slits a foot apart, and then seeing where the tennis balls land a mile away. So obviously a tiny deflection in the tennis ball over that mile distance will turn into a huge angle. And the spread of the tennis balls will be monstrous. And you'll never see that 1 foot of difference. So the 1 foot of distance, you know, any angular change, that 1 foot of deviation spread over the distance of 1 mile, angularly expanded, would be imperceptible. There would not be a hump here and a hump over here. The two humps would be right on top of each other, and there'd be such a tiny difference in them you'd never be able to see it. That's the fucking point you're not getting, dumbass. That these analogies are flawed. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit to bring that up. Just as it's absolute bullshit to say, well, look, this line is just as long as this line, therefore it's an on in the middle. When, yeah, duh, but those two lines are inside of a millimeter. They're not, you know, the pattern's many centimeters across, and you're telling me it's an on because inside of 1 millimeter it's an on. No, that's not going to work. Sorry, I'm not liking you much. Let's see. You slightly misunderstand my overall point. There's no overall point to be made with the stripe argument because it's absolute bullshit. If you do it with any kind of fair comparison between objects, it never works as an argument, ever, because all of them will be superimposed patterns. You'll never create your two lump scenario. I was just showing that what I meant with the double stripe band concept in the previous comments of mine by giving a video example of the pattern. And the video example isn't an example because it doesn't do anything that's the same. It's not comparable as an example. Dropping sand 6 inches okay, out of two openings that are, say, an inch across, I mean an inch different, has nothing to do with the diagram of the double slit. There's no proportional distances in that analogy. If you stretched the dropping sand out of the two slits and stretched it all to the right proportions and made the sand not gravitationally pulled into a straight line, okay, allowed the sand that came out sideways to keep going sideways, guess what? Your two stripes will disappear. In the previous comments, blah, 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 I was not sure that was understood correctly because my stripe wording. I think it is now. What is it? The third fucking reference to it. And you're going to keep saying the stripe thing, and I'm going to keep saying the stripe thing is an example of a bad analogy, not a good analogy, and it should never be brought up as an argument because the comparison is not apples and oranges. The comparison is Tweety birds and hippopotamuses. Double stripes are visible. See, he's did it again. He's just going to keep arguing it. Double stripes are visible and real with the microscopic particles like grains of sand. No, again, and how is that a reflection of the parameters of the experiment if they're not? And if you stretched it to the accurate parameters of the light experiment, the actual huge gigantic distances, and obeyed the same rules where something that's going sideways keeps going sideways, then all of a sudden your stripes are gone. All right. As a side thought, fuck you. How far should the components be? Ah, there you go. Yeah, see? So you never even thought about it right. And what should the dimensions of the slits be if everything would be made relative to the photon-electron scale? I don't know. You want me to do that for you? You want me to explain it? You know it's going to be preposterous, right? 1 millimeter versus 4 centimeters. Okay, so that's one relationship. But the distance is 1 millimeter of slit versus, 10 meters of distance away. So you're going to view something that's happening inside of 1 millimeter 10 meters away. So that's like a 1,000,000,000 to 1 relationship. 1,000,000,000 to 1. 1,000,000 to 1. There's 1,000,000 millimeters in 10 meters, or 10 million. 10 million? 10 million to 1 relationship. Whatever. Would the double slit pattern ever happen with single photon? See, again, here we go again. I've tried to explain to you there's no such thing as creating in the first place a single photon because the atoms are doing it, they're creating lots of little pieces, and it's only some of the pieces that end up in the right pattern. So even when you're seeing photons, there's a bunch of energy that never formed into photons that are going with it. There's a bunch of broken photons, and anything that's producing photons, it's also producing a bunch of little pieces of photon that just won't make it because they don't have enough pattern. So you're always making photons out of pieces. Let's see. Would the double band pattern, so he's talking about the stupid stripes again, ever happen with single photons and electrons is unclear to me because, okay, well, you're too stupid. That's the reason. The stripes have to be 1 millimeter apart. They don't spread. They're 1 millimeter on your target. Your target has one band is 5 centimeters across. How are you going to see 1 millimeter as two different bands? Come on. Anyway, singles are so hard to produce, as we can see from the experiment shown on YouTube. No, they're really easy to produce. The point is you can make broken photons really easy. Okay, but the point is there's a whole bunch of them over a large area. Okay, so you don't know where the one that will make a photon will be. And as we can read from the published papers and articles, I guess even then they would scatter from the surface of the slits. They were already scattered in their creation. When you put light through an opaque substance to diminish it, it's essentially like putting it through a bunch of little slit patterns. And now you've changed the direction of all the bits. They're moving in all kinds of, you've scattered it all. It's all scatter. and thus not produce only two stripes. So he just keeps obsessing. The interrupting measurement process near DS, the double slit, is not well defined. The interrupting experiment process near double slit is not well defined. So what the fuck? There's no measuring of a photon. You either collect one or you don't. There's no I saw it go by. Feynman and endless other theoretical physicists were just playing with the idealized thing. So, this is just more, they're allowed to play? No. There's no excuse for implying that you know the outcome of an experiment you didn't do. That's not science. Okay? Implying that you already did the experiment and you know the result as if you have confirmed it is bullshit. And he clearly committed that bullshit of implying he knows the answer because he saw it somewhere. I got that. It is amazing to see how idealized things come to be de facto before the actual evidence. And again, that's your version of it. My version of it is they have a theory, they wish to confirm the theory, so they exaggerate the evidence to confirm the theory. That's the crime here. All right? The truth didn't matter to these people. Confirming what they wanted to believe in is what is the goal. That's what Leibniz did. He didn't like Newton's unreligious physics, clearly. Then the frickin' French woman, same crime. She didn't like the uninteresting world created by Newton. She wanted a free will world, a random world, a humans are special world. And magical extra energy makes all of that seem more likely, I guess. But that's how it is. Sometimes evidence comes first, sometimes theory. So this is just more kind of like you're just glossing over this. No, this is exactly the definition. Sometimes science is science and sometimes it's bullshit. That's what you should be saying. Sometimes people are honest and decent and have integrity, and sometimes they have none and are assholes. And the clear point is that science has clearly been dominated by assholes because they've clearly been saying we proved it when they haven't come close to proving anything. They haven't met the burden of proof. They've shammed the system. They don't like, let's say they don't like black people. And so every time one's on trial, they rig the evidence so he goes to the chair. That's all they've done. They've convicted everything ahead of time. All right, and all they've done is sham the evidence together, shimmed it and lied about it and distorted it to sit there and make sure he gets the chair. They're just bigots. They're woo bigots. All right. We've got closer to produce. We got closer to produce, what the hell, singletons just recently. I'm just gonna stop reading your comments or something. I don't want to play this game, singletons. Fuck you. Last decade, actually. Whatever. Nevertheless, I'm still hesitant to accept they did it. Yeah, why don't you go? Bravo for you. Okay, they've never even proven a positron, let alone, the positrons, the I don't even know the negative proton. Where, there's negative protons somewhere. Oh, sure there are. Anyway, technical details go over my expertise, so should I just believe it? I don't think so. I'm just saying there's no reason to trust them on a single one of the particles, not any one of these new things, okay? The only thing that we can have any confidence exist are electrons and protons, because they're the things, obviously, that you can put in a geometric arrangement. They fit with the atomic periodic table. It makes sense. There's nothing in the periodic table that says, oh, it has 3 muons. Oh, this one has 17 muons. There's no fucking place for any of these stupid, idiotic particles to live. They have no house to live in. They have no place in the universe. There's no. Where are all the neutrinos hiding? What do they hide behind the proton and just say, "I'm not coming out"? What the? It's idiotic. It's so ludicrous. They should produce material that is transparent without too much jargon. Transparency just has to do with arrangement. Obviously, glass transmits light very reliably. What do you think it's transmitting? It's transmitting a force. How can it transfer the force reliably in exactly the same pattern? So it has to have a very exact geometry. So if you want to make something transparent, you just give it exact geometry. Okay, the domains, it can't have domains anymore. Domains that would be moving, crystals, for example. If the crystals are all going in different directions, you could understand, oh, it's going to be really hard to get force to move through all of that crap in the same direction. Glass is essentially electrically perfect. As much as it's an insulator, the pathways are perfect. Which allows the energy to get from one side to the other side in exactly the same shape. Same pattern. Anyway, you have to understand what it is before you can try to duplicate it in some other substance. They should produce material that is transparent with it. That's what they are paid. I don't know what this part has to do with science. Using overly technical language without any common sense abstracts is yet another way to appeal to authority. Point is they exaggerate what they're getting as a result, right? Just like they think they have a supercomputer, a quantum computer, when it's not really a quantum computer. It's a pile of shit, okay, that gets completely erroneous results faster than any other computer. It's capable of giving you bullshit faster than a regular computer. Because guess what? A regular computer is trying not to give you bullshit. That's why the regular computer is slow. It's because the regular computer is saying, I'm not allowed to bullshit. The regular computer has anti-bullshit technology in it, where their quantum computer just says, go ahead, bullshit. It's so fucking stupid. Anyway. Alright, your critic is at the right point, in my opinion. I don't know what that means. I don't even know what that is. Maybe they can never show the wave-particle duality to be true, but what they can do at the moment is use either side of the duality and apply it in an environment where they are experimenting. Who cares? I'm supposed to be talking to intelligent people who are supposed to have something called integrity. Now, if you have integrity and you're intelligent, you should have gotten enough information by now, more than enough, to realize, yeah, they're exaggerating. It's bullshit. They can't even describe the experiment accurate. They haven't even noticed simple things that they're fucking up, like it should be seen on a curved screen, like the mathematics is predicting a curved screen. This stuff isn't that complicated, and if they can't do that simple observations correct, why would you trust them with a complex observation, one that requires patience and discipline? They can't do the simple observations correctly. They can't honestly say, it was a duck. Instead, they're saying, it's a flying pig. Come on. Sometimes they use particle models. Well, this is just baby talk. It depends on the situation in which one performs better. They don't even bother doing any of that. They're just math whores. They don't even bother being that precise about whether, are we in particle mode or are we in wave mode? They just take their silly equation and play with it. And the silly equation is just doing the obvious. The argument isn't that the universe randomizes and then the randomized circumstance creates probability. We all agree about that. The argument is what's randomizing and how is the randomizing being controlled or manipulated. The fact that it exists, everybody agrees. The modest thinkers, that's what it says, take Newtonian and Einstein physics as well as QM as an approximation only. Some parts of it are approximate, some parts of it are very exact, okay? Newton's gravity formula is not all that approximate. It's pretty much an exact definition of what the fuck will happen. The unified model has yet to be seen. Whatever that. Blah, 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 blah. Your 2 plus 2 plus 1 is a simple one as per required principles of premises. No, as required by the fact that if you believe in evolution, you believe the universe evolves complexity. It's not made of complexity. And an interesting thought experiment. Even I don't know the details of it. Evolution from the early drafts to the current version. Science nowadays is a complex system of authority, evaluation, judgment, and social actions. Well, whatever. It's a group of people, and they're supposed to be well-educated people, and they're supposed to have, again, a great reverence for the truth and the process that acquires the proof. And they're just as bad as the Inquisition was as in terms of imposing social justice. As social justice warriors, the Inquisition sucked. And as scientists, these stupid intellectuals are assholes. They're shitty scientists because the mistakes they have made are outrageously gigantic. They're hyperbole. They're the abuse of the truth. Their exaggerations are just so fucking numerous and so fucking big that they can't be called anything other than jerks. It is not enough to correct, but one needs to fulfill the criteria of being at least reviewed by others. Well, obviously, they do as much as they can to shut the conversation down about how poorly evidenced their physics is. That's why you can't say anything on the forums at all that is derogatory of their proof. Okay. They won't be put on the hot seat. I can offer them $2,000 to answer a few questions, and they'll evade it. All right. If no one can understand it and then integrate it into the already existing scientific information, changes are not good. Well, whatever. Oh, I'm getting tired of this already. I appreciate you taking the time and writing your theories, your perception of what the problem is. But I don't need that either. Just like I don't need somebody else's theory. I don't need somebody else's theory on why science sucks. It sucks because humans suck. Okay, can the 2 plus 2 plus 2 model give predictions that you can test directly? Well, quite obviously, I'm saying simple things like, well, let's say if we could get a really, really good laser beam, like LIGO has, and let's do the 2-slit experiment. Let's see how small the bars are. If the bars are really, really small, then all of a sudden we might be getting to the truth, huh? All this stuff could be tested. I mean, right now you can just blow some little water molecules onto a glass slide and you can create a beam splitter. Yeah, you can. Okay, and you'll find out that the beam splitter creates the little pattern that LIGO is using and all that kind of crap, and you don't need any interference. All right, the force bits could be tested and detected. Wouldn't it be straightforward to confirm everything? Instead, it seems that you are talking about the underlying model that is untouchable directly. Well, obviously, I'm saying it's not untouchable. I'm saying you could do the fucking Eddington experiment from space right now with the 400 times better resolution. And I'm saying right now you'll find out gravity doesn't bend light twice as much. Guess what? Gravity doesn't bend light at all. So it's very provable. Fucking A. And here the whole community comes into play. Social interactions become critical. If one fails with it, then even the most authentic theories will be recognized after generations have passed, funeral by funeral. Yeah. But this isn't about generations, okay? So I think that's nonsense. It's just about the fact that we're not requiring human beings to have anything near anything called integrity. Everybody is celebrating being an anonymous asshole. They're all running to their VPNs because they're afraid of the troll. No, they're running to VPNs because they are trolls, because they want to cheat and steal and be secretive. Okay, this whole civilization is shit. They're afraid of the camera. They're afraid of being recorded. They're afraid of being accountable. Okay, humans suck. That's the takeaway here. Okay, and they even suck at being scientists. They can't even when they put on the scientist jacket, they fuck that up. They can't ever have anything called integrity. Eventually, the truth may reveal itself. It won't reveal itself, okay? This will have to happen, you fuckhead. The answer isn't going to fall down from heaven by itself. Oh, but anyway. But I don't know if humans are here to witness it. I don't know. So this is just whatever that, all that. La 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 la. There's arguments, okay? And the whole point is we have a trial. And the whole point is everybody should agree it should be a fair trial. And if we do it right, the evidence will tell us the truth. But instead we have corrupt juries, corrupt judges, corrupt lawyers, corrupt everybody's. No glorious parades, no fanfares, no hoorays, whatever. Witzak, who cares? Said that truth doesn't come by celebration. Well, duh. It comes when everything else has been thrown away as wrong, false, and useless. Well, that's pretty stupid. You have to start with something. So, I mean, there's no point in throwing away the round wheel. Yeah, it works pretty good stuff, good science. No point in throwing away the lever. Yeah, it works pretty good science. Yeah. It is like peeling a peach. Well, whatever, a messy thing. No, it's a messy thing is the fact that the lawyers are such thieves, that you put a piece of evidence on the table and the sneaky other guy lawyer, hey, I accidentally dropped that in the garbage can, and my partner accidentally threw the garbage out the window, and I made your evidence disappear. That kind of shenanigans. Yes, Witzak's got some credit for it in his lifetime, but I think he also got how the truth usually comes to be. I don't even know what that means, and I don't know why I'm supposed to care. Whatever. He's one of your heroes, fine. I don't know who he is, but whatever. Functionalists care about the model to get predictable and repeatable, usable, and practical effects. You're either seeking the truth, and you understand that the truth isn't just, it looks like, it seems like, that it's going to maybe be more complicated than that the truth isn't going to be, he's ugly, therefore he's guilty, he has a scar across his face, ooh, he must be evil. Even though he got the scar in the war, saving 400 little babies that were going to be slaughtered by the evil Nazis or something. We didn't pay attention to those details. We just said, ooh, Scarface, guilty. Yeah. People are supposed to have enough integrity to know the difference. Yeah. The rest of the speculation is left for the talking heads. Everybody's a talking head. And waving hands. Everybody's waving their hands. Perhaps there's not enough real-world application and commercially interesting inventions created around the double-slit experiments that would have caused us to rethink what is causing the DES effect. So obviously it's the whole nature of quantum mechanics is based on this. So everything, all quantum computers, superposition, entanglement is all founded on this experiment. So it's kind of silly to say there wasn't enough writing on it. I mean, that's just silly. The point is that they can spend a preposterous amount of money and claim something, and it doesn't necessarily have to be true. Gravitational waves could in fact be just complete bullshit, right? They've spent tons of money on LIGO, they're building more of them, they have a whole kinds of invested in this bullshit, and it could all just be absolute crap. They can just tell you, we did it. We saw them do it. They stood up and said, we did it. Oh, what's your evidence? Well, it's all this complex little crap where we matched a million little things and we went through a billion little sequences and we found two that look a little bit alike and said, we saw a wave, gravity wave. A piece of matter collapsed into bent space. Four solar masses turned into bent space and then arrived here at Earth. Fuck. I think they can just make it up. And that's what they're doing. I mean, quantum computing. Do you think there's really any such fucking goddamn idiotic thing as the magical qubit that can tell me the answer to the question before I ask it? I mean, it's essentially what they're selling. They're selling a computer that can find the answer. It knows what the answer to a mathematical equation is, and it doesn't have to do the equation, right? Doesn't make any sense. It can tell you what, 2 plus 4 plus 7 plus 8 minus 6, divided by 4. It can give you that answer without actually having to do the equation. Does that make any sense to you? Come on. Oh, so stupid. Fundamental underlying theory has been only for entertaining the speculative-oriented, playful people seriously. No, that isn't even it either. These fucktards have power, and they've decided, they appoint some lunatic to the National Science Foundation, and she decides, some loony, wacko decides what to waste billions of dollars on. So instead of wasting billions of dollars on getting a right answer to a simple question, is gravity bent twice as much? Does gravity bend light twice as much? No, let's not spend anything on that. Even though it would only take about $75. With $75, you could probably answer the question. It has to be $75 like on the space shuttle, space shuttle bucks. But anyway. All right, like I said, I appreciate your comment. Appreciate you investing the time. I'm really not interested in the philosophy part here and all that kind of crap. I'm just interested in the facts. And again, your obsession with certain facts, this is demonstrating where your problem in understanding is that you're buying into their silly crap. Again, their illustrations, their metaphors, their analogies are garbage. They don't work in the real world, and they don't apply to the real experiment. Light is doing anything like water. And they could know it. They could have known it 200 years ago, that it's not doing anything similar. All right, enough. Sorry. I'm just tired of this bullshit. It's just so stupid. I really, in hindsight, it's just so kind of funny because, 20 years ago, I found the whole thing mysterious. And I would have been just amazed if somebody put it all together and gave me the right answer. Nobody can do that. Nobody's ever going to solve this. It's just too fucked up, and you have to go too deep into their math and their quantum theory to try to even understand what's going on. Oh, blah 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 blah. And here I've done it, and there's just no, I'm doing this. This is what I'm required to do, is answer 900 million off-subject questions. It's just funny, how disappointing it is that you just never get to win. The shit just is so thick. You can shovel and you think you did your job, and it's like the next day it snows twice as much or something, and you're just like, fuck. Anyway. Until the next time and such. So, I did my part here, and I should be able to just, have a little vacation time. Just everybody say, okay, Gary, you did your part. We'll take it from here. Yeah. But no, I'm going to have to fight all the way down the dismal drain. I'm just never going to be given any time off. So this has been a DraftScience video presentation and such.